How's it going, guys? What of course you'll be seeing today is a breakdown and review of the machine gun in Destiny called Song of Uryut. The only way to actually get this weapon is by beating Crota, the last boss of the Crota's End raid, on normal or hard mode. I happen to get it on normal mode. When breaking down the stats of the weapon, to get into it quickly, it starts with the 272 base damage and increases to, of course, a max of 331 when you're done with the upgrades. To upgrade it, you're definitely going to need glimmer weapon parts and radiant energy from the raid. The other form, whether it's relic iron or spirit bloom, may differ between yours and my weapon. The fire rate's maxed at 100%. It has an impact rating of 25, which can go up. A range of 16%, which is quite low, and I'll get to that. A stability rating of 30, a reload percentage of 48, and a magazine size of a sky-high 87. And something of note is that on the weapon card it says the magazine's 35, but of course that's bugged because it's actually 87. In terms of PvP damage output, it hits for 20 on non-critical hits and 25 on headshots. With regard to the skill tree, there are no variations for raid weapons, which means yours and mine are going to be exactly the same. Every single Uryut in existence deals arc damage. You have 3 clear options in terms of the barrels. The first is Smart Drift Control, which reduces range, but adds controllable recoil. Accurized Ballistics, which increases range and impact, but adds more recoil. And Aggressive Ballistics, which reduces range and adds recoil, but it makes it more manageable. My personal choice for this weapon is Smart Drift Control. When breaking down the skill tree, the most important perk of the weapon is Darkbreaker, which allows you to shoot through a Hive Knight shield, and I'll get to that shortly. Infinitely useful for the bridge encounter of hard mode Crota's End, where boomers are prevalent and you have to take them out quick. And you don't have a Galahorn, of course. The next 3 perks, which you have a choice over, are Higher Caliber Rounds, which staggers targets, Flared Magwell, which increases reload speed, and Hammer Forge, which increases range and accuracy. That one's my choice, but of course you'll have to manage more recoil and slower reload speed by sacrificing the other 2 perks. The last remaining perk of note is Grenadier, which decreases the cooldown of your grenade as you get kills. So you'll replenish your grenades faster with kills. Going back, the single 2 most important perks of this weapon are, like I said earlier, Darkbreaker and Hive Disruptor. Darkbreaker allows you the ability to shoot through the Hive Knight's wall of darkness. But most important, of course, with that, as I already said, is that they can't fight back when they have their shield up. So this perk allows you to cut right through those knights quickly and in less danger because they can't fight back. When you combine this perk with Hive Disruptor, which increases damage to Hive Majors, you will make things a lot easier for yourself when you're dealing with strikes or especially Crota's End, especially on hard mode. The synergy associated with both of these perks is actually a really nice combo. There's 5 remaining perks, and they're all damage upgrades, which you'll need Radiant Energy with. In PvE, this is a weapon that will come in handy significantly for any arc buff Nightfalls, and of course, like I was just ranted about, it'll come in very big handy for Crota's End, especially hard mode Crota's End because of the Hive Disruptor and Darkbreaker perks. This weapon, though, can hold its own outside of the above 2 situations, as I've regularly used it effectively in strikes, dailies, and weekly events. Having said that, because so many perks are specifically allocated for Crota's End, if you have a superior rocket launcher or a more comfortable 331 machine gun that perks aren't completely allocated to raid usage, you wouldn't exactly be worse off by using that instead. Song of Uryut certainly won't hold you back, though, is the point I'm trying to make here. But if you're not using Hammer Forged, which of course increases the range, you should be using this in close range and just using it as a bullet hose. Mid-range to short range is basically the range. You don't want to go into longer range encounters with this weapon. The recoil will be so pronounced, and it'll be kicking all over the place. In PvP, there isn't a lot of variation in many machine guns. There's, of course, the bullet hose like this, and then there's the slower fire rate but more damaging model, which is the one I actually prefer over this. But in the Crucible, all of them dish out tons of damage per round anyway, because they're heavy weapons. The thing of note here, of course, is that because the range is low, even with Hammer Forged, you'll want to stay in short to medium range encounters. And the only detriment to this is that people with fusion rifles and shotguns might have an easier time killing you with this machine gun than something with the higher damage model. So it's something to note. You're probably going to want to also hold down the trigger with this weapon because, like I just said again, it doesn't dish out as much impact per shot as other machine guns. So it can be very effective, but if I had a better rocket launcher or a higher damage modeled machine gun, I might choose that in the Crucible instead. So to repeat and sum up, this is a weapon that will absolutely excel in Arc Nightfalls and the Crota's End Raid. That's where it specializes. It can excel in other phases as well. It's not a detriment to use this weapon outside of those two scenarios. So weeklies, dailies, Vanguard strikes, you're still going to be effective, but you have to monitor the range you're in. Shorter and medium, because it's a bullet hose, are going to help you a lot. At farther range encounters, you're going to find this weapon kicks all over the place, and you're pretty much wasting your ammo. It's the kind of weapon that if you have a better rocket launcher, use that, but it's still not a bad choice. Have a good one, YouTube.